Today's sponsor is Loot Crate. For less than $20 a month, Loot Crate gives the geek in you a special treat every month. Loot Crate's a subscription box service with $40 worth of geek, gamer, and pop culture gear, collectibles, apparel, comics, and more delivered to your mailbox every month. This month, they're bringing you a fight for the ages. Suit up, choose your allies, and enter the arena for combat. They're ready to stand their ground this month, and exclusive items from Blizzard, Fallout 4, Capcom, sponsor-worthy loot from the Hunger Games, as well as a few more items will help your winners emerge victorious in this box. You have until the 19th at 9 p.m. Pacific to subscribe and receive that month's crate. And when the cutoff happens, that's it. It's over. So go to lootcrate.com/KFGames and enter code KFGames to save $3 on your new subscription today. The second topic of the day, Activision made a big purchase. Fortune.com reports, King Digital Entertainment, the company behind popular Facebook games such as Candy Crush, seems to have decided that being a publicly traded entity isn't all it's cracked up to be. King announced late Monday that it's being acquired by Activision Blizzard, the makers of popular console and PC games such as Call of Duty, for $5.9 billion motherfucking dollars. King's stock price has been under pressure in part because investors are concerned that it could be a one-hit wonder or that its games might fade in popularity over time.
No.
King is close to 500 million monthly active users, but that number has been declining and so have the company's revenues and profits. Candy Crush was first released in 2012 and quickly became one of the most popular Facebook games ever. Investors' concerns were most likely well-placed since other Facebook and social games have lost their luster in the past. Zynga was once the most dominant game maker on Facebook thanks to titles like Farmville, but its popularity and its share price faded after the social network changed its algorithm and wasn't promoting the game as much. With the buyout, Activision is able to address one of its chief areas of weakness, mobile. Activision's stock price hits an all-time high, reported today, closes up 7.5% after the King deal was made. Investors were most likely responding positively to landmark news that Activision is dropping $5.9 billion to acquire a mobile publisher, blah, blah, blah. But it also doesn't hurt that Activision has a stellar third quarter that outpaced analyst expectations. So just for reference, EA bought PopCap back in 2011 for $650 million.
Yeah, they got a steal because PopCap's makes more than one game. So This deal struck me as incredibly strange. Now there's an important note to be had here, and I have not looked into it too deeply, but apparently there are significant tax benefits to this deal. And I don't know the exact nature of that, and I'm gonna have to look into that. Maybe we can revisit it because I've just not had time to research it. But people have tweeted at me that there is a incredible tax benefit to this purchase that benefits Activision. So there's that. Here are some numbers that I was looking at, and I thought was a little strange to me. And I would be very scared if I buying King for this much money seems completely suicidal to me. And we'll get to why I don't know how suicidal it really is considering who's running Activision. They're not stupid people. Last year, 2014, net profit, I really should say, of King after all expenses paid was about $550 million around there, maybe a little less. Their gross revenue is something like 5 times ahead of that, so probably somewhere in the line of $2.5 billion. So Activision paid 12 times the amount of the profit made last year to acquire the company and its IP. And why that's weird to me is A, the things that they talked about. Zynga is a great example of something that looked like it was going to be dominant and fucking fell off the face of the planet. And that was, it was so obvious that was going to happen. Like, these things are just, when you depend on casual gamers, that is exactly what you're going to get, is a casual market. And so I look at this deal and I look at it and I'm like, I just don't, why? Like, why? Why would you spend this much money on this company? The numbers that they didn't call out here, and I'm going to call out these numbers, and I called them out on Colin and Greg Live. Microsoft bought Mojang, which came with it Minecraft, for $2.5 billion, which is a fucking steal now compared to what these things are going on. Disney bought Star Wars for $4 billion.
Yeah.
Star Wars, I hate to tell you, will make billions and billions and billions of dollars over the next 10 years. That was a fucking shrewd buy. It was probably worth twice as much.
And see, that's what blows my mind the most, is the fact that, like, how can this be worth more than Star Wars?
It's not.
That's what this says.
That's what I'm saying. And it's like, so $5.9 billion for King, publicly traded. People are going to fucking make out as bandits. Stockholders of King are probably fucking shitting their pants right now about how much money they're about to make. But as long as the big thing is that the deal will not go through till the spring. Ireland, and King's an Irish company, and they need to go through all the rigmarole over there. This just doesn't make any sense to me. Mm-hmm. They make a bunch of games, but they all are derivatives of either Candy Crush Saga, or they have different Match 3, Puzzlers. Like they make these very gimmicky free games, and then they have whales that support these games. Their 500 million user, first of all, I don't believe that for a fucking second. That's 1 in 12 people in the world are playing King games. I just don't know about that. So I don't know
what that sounds so crazy to me though. I mean, just in the way that like everyone has access to something that these things are on. But
what I'm wondering is, how is that number counted? Is that counted as like individual downloads of games? So if a person has 5 King games, are they counted 5 times or are they counted once? I'm just seeing that
5 times.
I'm seeing that number and I'm just like, that doesn't sound right to me. That just doesn't even sound possible. Like that doesn't sound possible. I could be wrong. I'm not saying they're necessarily like anyone's lying. I'm just saying like, what does that number mean? We always have to be skeptical about these numbers from these companies. I'm always skeptical about the numbers that these companies release because there's always some fucking trickery being portrayed. But it doesn't matter how wide the user base. It's about the people that buy, and there probably are a few million people that spend money. Now,
these are your whales, correct?
Yeah, your whales. This cannot possibly last for them because the next big thing is going to come up and take their place, just like the next big thing displaced Zynga. And the only thing I can think of, Bobby Kotick at Activision is shrewd and he's smart. He's smarter than anyone in this room, and he's probably smarter than most people listening to this podcast, right? I mean, it's just the fact that dude's
he's a businessman.
He's not only a businessman,
he's a fucking business.
He's an incredibly successful businessman. Bobby Kotick is no dummy. So the one X factor to this whole situation is like, what do you know? Because it was the same question I asked when Microsoft bought Mojang, which I thought was for a lot of money, and they got away with murder with that one pretty much. And EA with PopCap is like, I'm sure they're looking at it being like, I'm sure the guys that own PopCap are like, fuck. We could probably sold for a lot more.
Yeah.
Because PopCap to me is like real. I'm not saying people at King aren't necessarily talented. I'm just saying the people at PopCap are. Peggle and Plants vs. Zombies are already more diverse than anything that King's made.
Yeah.
And more unique than anything King's made. So I look at this and I'm like, there's got to be something to this because I don't understand how Activision is going to just drop $6 billion in cash. I mean, like that's the craziest thing. It's just, what the fuck do they know? So I think that there's more to this story. We might not ever know what more to the story is. So I think part of it is this possible tax ramification that I have to look into that might be very beneficial to them to be able to write a bunch of shit off, and maybe they save billions of dollars doing it. So it's just like 6 and 1 half dozen the other, in which case, okay, maybe they only paid in real money $2.5 billion for the company. And so it makes more sense. But also, what are you investing in with King? Like, what are you investing in? They have 1,400 employees. So are you investing in their marketing? Are you investing in, because you're not investing in their development.
The thing there is, I don't think that it's, am I saying it's worth it? To me, no, but like you said, I'm sure I'm missing a lot, but it's the infrastructure. It's the infrastructure of marketing and getting mobile games out to people and casual games out to people. That's something that Activision doesn't really have right now in that way.
No, they're not a mobile games company.
But now they are.
Yeah, I know.
And I mean, but that's the thing is like now it's another pillar. And with things like Hearthstone, which are huge and core gamers love that shit,
Yeah,
so
Hearthstone makes a lot of money.
So it's like, all right, let's combine that with this, combine the Call of Duties with the Hearthstone, with the, is that how you say it? Hearthstone? Yeah, with the Hearthstone, with the Candy Crush. What does that become? I don't think it's so much about Candy Crush being this thing for Activision. It's more about combining the elements that make all of them work together, being this thing.
But how does it work? Like in my mind, I'm like, how does this work? If everything stays the same with King, we talked about this on Colin and Greg Live. If everything remains the same with King, and the structure remains the same, the games make the same amount of money, and the status quo is kept, which is obviously not going to happen. They're going to need new games or they're going to disappear off the fucking face of the planet. But let's assume that that's the case. It will take Activision 12 years to make their money back. Now that's a good investment in a vacuum, but in games, the market's so much more dynamic and fluid than this. 12 years ago, we could not have possibly predicted where we are now. And in 12 years, the market's going to look very different again. And what will the relevance of what King does be in 12 years? I don't know. King obviously has made an asinine amount of money. And there's no doubt they're bigger than anyone almost anyone that publishes or makes core AAA games like by a mile. So they're going to laugh all the way to the bank. And this might be a very shrewd move on Activision's part. I just don't understand that. King seems, from an outsider's perspective, I don't like mobile gaming, so I'm only speaking from an outsider's perspective. It seems like King preys on the things that work to get people to spend money or the whales to spend money, and they just kind of regurgitate some ideas to keep those games current. So in my mind, Activision is not paying for that. Activision under their umbrella has game developers way more talented than them. So I think you're right that it's got to be for this marketing or this reach thing, but like, why can't Activision just find that reach themselves? This is what I'm saying.
Because there's a difference there. It's they can, but this is different reach. And that's the thing, is like when we make a video that we want it to go viral, quote unquote, it's like, yeah, we have our built-in thing of we have our Twitter followings and our this and our that, but it's like that doesn't stop me from wanting to reach out to IGN and GameSpot and College Humor and Rooster Teeth. Hey, can you promote this too? And with King, this is one of those things, Candy Crush. I mean, I see it anytime I play any mobile game. The ad comes up and it's like, you want an extra life in Peggle? Then you need to watch this 10-second ad for this thing. Now Activision owns that. They can put whatever ads they want in front of that. They're going to make money from the ads, but more importantly than that, they can promote whatever they want. So now Hearthstone is now being seen by every single person casually playing Candy Crush. It's like, oh, I want to try something new. What's this thing that I keep seeing over and over? You know,
Yeah, that's possible.
Clash of Clans.
Ugh.
So many millions of people play that game. Why? Just because there's commercials for it, and every fucking game has ads for that because they bought ads and everything. So it's like, now if Activision controls that, they control so much. Like they can make anything they want popular.
Tony
they can
Hawk,
create that. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5. You know,
be popular.
but they if they put ads for that everywhere, that game would sell so much more just based on people know about it. Oh, this is happening. You know, Call of Duty now is going to sell more.
I don't know.
More.
It's I don't know. I'm really interested how this plays out and what their intent is. We will find out should the deal go through, and it's going to go through. We'll see at E3 what Activision does with them immediately, because there's got to be some sort of plan that's not latent in their mind, the plan that is immediately going to go into action. Activision is dumping a shit ton of money on this. A lot of people's reputations are now going to ride on this particular deal. This is not a trivial amount of money. This market cap of $6 billion is bigger than a vast majority of companies in the world could ever even approach being worth.
Yeah.
Nonetheless being acquired for that much money. This is not a trivial amount of money. You know, this is not $600 million.
I mean, this is one of the biggest things in our industry ever. You know, when you think about the sales, like the only things that come to mind are what you named, like Star Wars being one of those things, and with Oculus and Facebook.
Yeah, exactly. And all those deals were so much. And Star Wars for 2/3 the amount of money. I just don't I'm just like, what? Like, this to me reminds me of when Yahoo bought GeoCities for $5 billion. That was the beginning of the end of the fucking .com era in the late 90s, early 2000s, were deals like that. And I'm looking at this now and I'm like, I wonder if we're getting so out of control with valuations now that this sparks the beginning of the end of the boom and the bubble that we're in now in terms of tech and in terms of gaming. Because I'm like, this valuation cannot possibly be rooted in any sort of reality. But there's all of these mysteries that we don't know about that can certainly make it more likely to be viable on a fucking ledger, which is what they're looking at. And if so, they can write this off and save a shit ton of money doing that, or whatever the implications are that people have tweeted me. Again, I do not know. I have not read about it. I don't know, man. This when I saw this is a fucking head scratcher. This interrupted my whole night when this was announced, because I was like, I couldn't stop.
My whole night was ruined
because I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I'm
Crush.
like, what? Like, that's I could see King going for a couple billion, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
I know. I mean, the number sounds outrageous. The number
totally
sounds
outrageous.
crazy. But then to stop and think now of just like, what is Activision? Activision is fucking Call of Duty, Blizzard, and Candy Crush. That's power, man. Like,
It's power for now. To me, I think Activision, again, not a dumb company. I just think Call of Duty has reached its limit. I think that
Destiny then, you know,
Destiny is huge. Yeah, Destiny's the next. Certainly, I would even say Destiny's way more important in their future now than Call of Duty. I think Call of Duty's on the wane. I think Destiny's is waxing right now. You know, like, so I don't know, man. Like, from a business perspective, I'm not a businessman. None of us are, but we do understand basic economics, and I have a lot of just basic questions about this deal. And I hope that they talk more about it. I think that they're probably not going to say a goddamn word about it until the deal goes through. So we're going to be waiting for a long time. And I wonder why they even announce. Like, I guess they have to announce it. It's a publicly traded company, but the deal has to go through all this shit still in Ireland and stuff. So I don't know. There's a lot of questions to be asked, but I'm certainly not the only person that's like highly skeptical of this. And like I said, I wrote a little something about it just on my Facebook page where I'm like, this has all the makings of like a genius move, or Activision's going to eat shit. You know, like one of those two things is very likely to happen.
Yeah.
And I'm interested to see. I have no problem with Activision at all. I hope that they succeed wildly. I think they put out good games, but for the most part. But yeah, something is fucking puzzling about this, man. And like I'm racking my brain like day after day thinking about it. Like, what? Like, why? You know, reading financials, reading King's financials, and just going through them, and I'm like, okay, lots of revenue, really high profits. But based on this very fickle thing, just like Zynga was based on this very fickle thing, you know, for a little while. And Zynga looked like they were going to take over the world. And if you asked me in 2010 if they were going to take over the world, then no, Zynga sucks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but everyone said we were wrong and we were right. So King doesn't make games that King makes games that are addictive and easy to understand, but they don't make games that are worth anything.
But I mean,
You know what I mean?
I think the thing there though is going back to it. It's the marketing and it's the fact that ads in front of those places are worth a lot of money, a shit ton of money. So even if the whales aren't there, the ad money's there.
We'll see. I mean, we'll certainly see. To your point about them attracting cross-pollinating audiences and stuff, I just don't know that there's any evidence that works at all. I think these are two.
I mean,
people that play
there
Candy
definitely is. Like when Flappy Bird came out, everything that was ad targeted on Flappy Bird was ridiculous.
That's not the point I'm trying to make. The thing is that the people that play Flappy Bird play fucking Call of Duty. I mean, that's kind of the thing. Like so someone, to your point that you're making earlier about the cross-pollination of IP, it's like, okay, so they show a Call of Duty ad before you play Candy Crush. Or the people that play Candy Crush want to play Call of Duty? They want to play Call of Duty Match 3. Because I mean that's
the thing though. But I mean that could be it. You know, and that still grows the brand of Call of Duty. Or even with Hearthstone. You know, like it's maybe not the jump to Call of Duty, but it's at least brand awareness, and it's definitely similar games, or like getting them up that step. You know, go from super casual to kind of casual to generic to hardcore. Like I think that there is a door that you just got to lead them down the hallway.
Sure.
Is that worth $6.5 billion? I can't see how, but
no, I think that that if that's part of the gamble, I think that's a big gamble. I hope that wasn't part of their calculus, because I don't think that's going to work out for them. But if the gamble is just reach, if the gamble is just milking the shit out of King for as much as it's worth, and if Activision's ploy is like, you made 500. I don't know enough about King's financials to know how they're spending their money. They probably live very high over there, and they make a lot of money, so they can do whatever the fuck they want. And if Activision's ploy is like, we're just taking the games and God forbid, because I don't want anyone to lose their job, it's like, you guys are done. Like, we're taking your games and we're taking all the infrastructure and a very core staff of people that understand how these games work, and your marketing team, and out of the 1,400 people, 1,000 of you are gone, and we're shutting down buildings and all this kind of thing. Then maybe their thing is like, we will extract as much money out of these guys while we can. And maybe we can get that $500 million to $1 billion a year, and we can just ride it for a few years and see where we are. That could also be part of the calculus. So I don't know. There's a lot of answers questions that need to be answered about this, but It was certainly one of the most fascinating business deals I remember ever happening in the gaming industry. Mm-hmm. Like, that's for sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, that topic's brought to you by Loot Crate. Would you classify yourself as a geek, gamer, or pop culture nerd? Then Loot Crate is the subscription box for you. Loot Crate is a subscription box service with $40 worth of geek, gamer, and pop culture gear, collectibles, apparel, comics, and more delivered to your mailbox every month. Make sure to head to lootcrate.com/KFGames and enter code KFGames to save $3 on any new subscription. This month, they're bringing you a fight for the ages. Suit up, choose your allies, and enter the arena for combat. They're ready to stand their ground this month with exclusive items from Blizzard, Fallout 4, Capcom, sponsor-worthy loot from the Hunger Games, as well as a few more that will help their winners emerge victorious. Whether you're risking your life in battle or taking no prisoners in the wasteland, our loot will be at your side to help keep things interesting. Basically, Loot Crate's like your homie that gives you nice things every month, and that's a great thing. Did we mention they shipped to over 13 different countries too? You have until the 19th at 9 p.m. Pacific to subscribe and receive that month's crate, and when the cutoff happens, that's it. It's over, Jack.
Yeah.
So go to lootcrate.com/KFGames and enter code KFGames to save $3 on your new subscription today.
I thought you were going to tease me. I thought you were going to do it. You tossed a Jack
I looked at you and you did the look. I'm like, I got to give it to him.
Jack needs to hear about it.
X go and give it to you. Tim go and give it to you too.